Ready.
All right, everybody, let's begin our experience. Everyone just start by settling into their chairs, settling into their space. Expire before we can be inspired. As we do this, let's just gently take our head, put our right ear to our right shoulder. Release the tension from it, let the natural weight of the head just gently stretch the muscles, following the breath. Slowly bring it up. Left ear. Go to the left shoulder. Again, just let it happen as a natural part of the breath moving in and out. And bring it back up. Open the mouth, loose jaw. Stretch the jaw down. Release the muscles in the face, cheeks. We're going to do it's going to just keep your eyes closed, because if you open your eyes, you can start laughing at everybody. As you do that, go ahead and grab your ears and gently pull your ears out. Stretch the ears as you lower the jaw. Together, fill the cheeks with air. Stretch the cheeks. Relax. Gently tug the ears a little more. Lower the jaw. Nice little verbal as you lower it. And whatever slight different direction you need to pull them in to release that tension, Stimulating all those wonderful acupuncture points and ears. Self-love, self-treatment. Take the time to be with yourself. Good things happen. Good. Stretch that jaw down one more time. Release the ears. Good. Bring our chin to our chest. Point our nose towards our one corner, one nipple. Gently let the head go back. Stretch out the front of the neck. And bring the chin down. Open your eyes, as always. Look at all the people around you that loving souls that you're surrounding yourself with, you're honoring, you're sharing with. Hi, everybody.
Hello.
Well, the first thing that I have to start out with is that I was just incredibly impressed and moved by the class that happened not last week, but the week before. I couldn't write enough stuff. How proud I was of everybody for showing up. And there was a lot of things about that class that were better with me not being here. Doesn't mean I'm going anywhere, but there was a lot of things that were better without me being here. And I don't want those things to go away because of that. And you all know what those are, okay? There was a much higher level of participation. There was a much higher level of sharing. And I want that to continue now that I'm here, okay? And I'm going to be mindful to continue to initiate that and encourage that, because that was better because I wasn't here. Okay. That's the one thing I noticed. What wasn't as good with me here, I don't know. I was too busy noticing what was better without me. That was awesome. You guys just did a great job. And you know, I was 15 minutes away, and I wasn't out of town, and I just knew I couldn't come. I had to stay away and watch. That was kind of torturous at first because I really wanted to be here with you guys.
That would have been really freaky.
Yeah, wouldn't that have been freaky? Yeah.
Like we manifested you or something.
You guys were amazing without me. And I was very proud of that. And we also got word that the very beginning of a class started in Canada for the first time. Julie and Lisa had a class together. So that's the beginning. Whenever two come together, right? There's a union, there's a beginning, and we're not putting any expectations on that, but we're just really grateful for you and Lisa for taking the initiative to do that, and just keep working at it, keep being open, and people will keep coming. And as this group continues to get stronger, and when there's a bigger group there, I would love to, take a ride down there and be a special guest at that class to draw more people into it. And I would like to use myself that way. I'd like to use myself to catalyze, bringing a bigger group of people together that can then, organically grow. So you guys have to do a little more on your own. I'm watching now, and I'm keeping an eye on you. When the time is right, then I'll come and instill myself personally in that and turn that up even a little more. And I've already got some volunteers, my wonderful support staff, and I know others that will take that week off and go with me, and we'll take yours and get it up on Facebook, and so we'll have 2 classes going at one time, and we all start somewhere, right? Mm-hmm. So what an incredible couple months it's been with this practice, hasn't it? Just what an incredible couple months it's been. So let's just do some, you know what, instead of going through the review questions, I had some time to contemplate and had some experiences that made me aware of something within myself, and I'm sure if it's within me, it's within all of us. Okay, so what I'd like to start is I'd like to just kind of get into a lesson. And this lesson isn't verbatim out of the practice, but I think it's one that's really worthwhile to share. And it's one that I really, if I look back, okay, and if you all have any doubt whether what we're doing is being divinely orchestrated, if you just look back and then look forward, you can see that the things that we've talked about, the things that people have asked for in the chamber, the things that people have been healed of and that God has made a presence in, there's follow through on those things. Like there's things happening as a result of these experiences, okay? And I don't know if any of you remember, but do you remember when I went into the chamber that first time in front of everybody and I was asking for a release of all like low self-esteem and lack of confidence and everything that wasn't going to make me as good of a leader? Do you guys remember that? And I know some of you were a little bit like, wow, I never thought I'd hear Keith ask for that. And some of you were even thinking that, you know, I might be asking for it for everybody else, which of course I was, but there was an honest intention in that. I was letting myself be completely open with all of you and just ask for something that I just intuitively knew, even though I didn't have a tangible reason. And it ended up completely unfolding in my life, okay? So very, very powerful experience. And what it taught me is what I'd like to share with you, okay? And that is that we need to be conscious of the fact that for whatever reason, the way we're wired, the way our nervous systems are wired, and the way our brains are wired, in a moment of trauma, okay, when we're confronted with trauma or we're confronted with someone who's dissatisfied or unhappy with us, okay, we automatically go into an assumption that we're wrong. And I need you to really, really hear me on this because I love you and I don't want you to do this anymore, okay? And I'm going to share a story and I'm so happy about how it all happened, and I'm so happy that the person did this, and I'm just so happy and grateful about all of it, okay? Because it's left me in a place that I can teach you this. And my hope is always that everything I teach you, you can either go through it easily or maybe not have to go through it at all, okay? But mainly, if you do have to go through it, you're going to hear it from me first, and you're going to know you're going through it, and you're not going to see it as something you're being traumatized by. You're going to see it as something God's healing you of. And many times when God heals us of something, it's not comfortable, okay? And I haven't been through one of the releases that you guys go through a little more often. I haven't been through one of those in a long, long time. So just want to continue to embrace my humility, let you all know that I'm still in this with you guys all the way. I'm still going through some things. And no one's beyond the experience of transformation and change. And it's not even always comfortable for me, okay? But is it a lot more comfortable than it used to be? Yes. Is it a lot more comfortable for many of you than it used to be? Yes. But there are still going to be moments where God heals you of something, and it isn't always the most comfortable thing to come through, okay? So the beautiful thing is after, and the specifics aren't important, and the person's not important, it's the intention of what happened that I was able to distill from this, okay? So most of you know, if you don't, I've been in practice for 20 years, and someone asked me to kind of get an idea of how many actual patient visits that was. How many patient visits have I had with people over 20 years? And it's well over 75,000. So I've had 75,000 experiences with people. Now they all haven't been different people, but there's been a lot of different people. And I've been so blessed and so lucky because I've, I come in my heart and I do the best I can. And sometimes that's not always perfect, but I'm always trying to do the best I can and come from the right place. And in 20 years, I've really never had a negative experience with anyone. I mean, I've had someone not paying me or something stupid like that, but that doesn't matter. I've never really had anyone have a problem with me. Okay, so I mean that's just incredibly lucky. Okay, and it shows that I'm trying to do the right thing. Well, I asked for a release of all low self-esteem and lack of self-confidence to make me a better leader, right? Okay, that was how many weeks ago?
A long time.
Yeah, but what?
Maybe 6 weeks.
So it was close to the beginning because when we went into the chamber, I volunteered to be the first person in the chamber, right?
That was the, yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Okay. So I go home and I'm at home and for whatever reason I'm like, you know what, I should open the mail today, and I never open the mail. My wife just gets the mail and opens the mail, and that's the way it goes. But I'm home, so I'm diddly-dallying around. So I get the mail, I open the mail, and there's a letter in it. This letter is, a very honestly written letter from a patient who really wants to tell me how dissatisfied she is with me. So she got my home address and she sent me this letter. And it was very, very well-written letter, very well thought out. This was genuinely what she came to in her own thoughts and reflections, which she has every right. She has every right. Everybody has every right to feel how they feel about anybody. There's no, I don't want anyone to hear me being upset with her in any way. It was just an event. We have to get past the personal thing. It was just an event that needed to happen for me to move past this place where on some level, everything she was saying about me, okay, on some level, if something someone says about you resonates in you in a certain way or causes an incredible charge, it's something you're feeling about yourself. Okay, you guys get that? If someone says something about you and you're totally at peace with it not being true, there's nothing in you that resonates with it in any way, then you're just gonna listen to them and go, well, whatever, that's just your opinion, and you're gonna be fine with it. But if you're not, then you're not. And it took someone writing something, okay, that she couldn't have known that there was all these little points in my system that needed to be cleaned up, all these little buttons that really needed to be pushed all at the right time, okay? So she was divinely inspired to write the letter as much as I was divinely inspired to receive it. So you know the experience. You know, if someone writes something that's not nice about you, your heart starts beating a little faster. You start getting that really kind of weird, cold, sweaty feeling around you. You know, you start feeling like, what did I do wrong? And you default into, what did I do wrong? What did I do wrong? Everyone knows this experience, don't they? Everyone's had a punitive experience or some experience where someone wasn't happy with them, and they immediately go into, what did I do wrong? And if you're a loving, conscious person, you start becoming reflective, right? And you start going back in your life and trying to find out what you did to make this person feel this way about you. Because you don't want people to feel this way about you, okay? I have a problem, all right? My problem is I really don't care what people think, but I don't want anyone to not like me. It's a bit of a quandary. So one of them has to go. I either have to not care what people think and not care if people don't like me, or I have to want everyone to like me and then I have to care what everyone thinks. But we know the other one's not going to work. There's only one way out of this car wash, isn't there? So this is the moment where you all know this experience, right? Do you ever take your car through a car wash at the car wash in the gas stations? And you get the button and you put it neutral and your car's going through the car wash, right? And you hope all the windows are closed and you hope everything's in there because there's no way out of the car wash but through the other side of the car wash, right? You got to go through. You can't get out. So once I read the letter and once I felt all the energy moving, I know what you guys feel when I put my hands on you all the time. Oh shit. Oh,
Here we go.
Here I go, right?
Yep.
So God put me through the car wash, all right? Because I need to clean up a little bit. So I'm going through the car wash, you know, and I'm like, oh my God, I haven't had this in so long. I'm having those weird anxiety symptoms in my stomach, and you guys all know what I'm talking about, right?
Yes.
Then I'm reflecting, what did I do wrong, what did I do wrong, what did I do wrong, what did I do wrong? And I'm like going into, starting to doubt everything I am. I mean, I am really going into a wonderful healing. I'm going into a major meltdown. I'm like, oh my God, am I kidding myself about everything I'm doing? I'm calling everything in my life into doubt over a letter from one patient. That is completely irrational, insane thought, okay? I am my own worst enemy at that point. And I know it. I'm conscious of the fact that I'm doing it, all right? And I'm just like, I got to do it. I got to go through this. I can't deny that I'm having this experience. Why do I feel this way about myself? Why? Okay? And the answer is, because it's crazy. It's irrational. It's punitive. It's childish. It's primitive. There isn't any conscious thought in that reaction. There's only a reaction. So, you know, thank God, I mean, you know, the whole thing was over in about 48 hours, okay? But what happened within it was amazing. So I'm going into this space. Everyone, you still with me? I'm going through the car wash. And I'm going, oh my God, oh my God. And I'm thinking about all the worst case scenarios that are going to happen from this, you know what I mean? Again, I'm cuckoo for Cocoa Puffs. I am off the rails at this point, all right? And I'm not making any decisions. I'm not doing anything, you know. I'm starting to craft a letter. I'm starting to craft a reply. I'm starting to like, okay, I need to take an action step. You know, so I start taking an action step and I start just writing my response, all right? And as I'm writing my response, I realize that my reaction is completely insane. I start looking at the math, like, wait a minute here. Let's get some perspective. You've been doing this for 20 years. You've had 75,000 visits. You're getting your first letter. Even if it's completely true, it's your first letter in 20 years. How many people see as many people as I have a chance to see, and it's their first letter in 20? But no. It was the default into what did I do what? Wrong. Okay? It was the default into what did I do wrong? Which is childish. It's the way we feel about things when we're infantile and we don't have the ability to have our own perspective. Do you hear that? Mm-hmm. It's the way we feel about things when we're infantile and we don't have the ability to have our own perspective. So we assume that the perspective being input upon us, okay, is correct, whether it's religion, parental, whatever, and we assume that we are wrong. And because we're wrong, we then go into defensive survival mode. Do you guys get that? It's a freaking reaction. Now, the cool part is, okay, what happens next? All right, so immediately, okay, I start having experiences with people, all right? And there's way too many to talk about, but all I can tell you is that God put the most amazing, loving, honest people in my life. Like, immediately after I went through the release of it, God immediately said, okay, now, you get what's doing it now, you got to cut that out, and you start putting people in my life to tell me the truth about who I was. You know, Sarah was one of them. Yeah, she was just, just an angel. And she's never upstairs, okay? So you got to remember, circumstances are completely divinely orchestrated. So she's upstairs, just happens to be doing some painting for me because we need a room painted, and Sarah will just do whatever I ask her to do, which is awesome. So she's like, yeah, I'll paint the room for you. So she comes up here to check on the paint, and she comes in to tell me how the painting's going. And she just looks at me. And we just start having this conversation. Sarah has no idea what's happening. And she starts talking to me like she knows, because she does. She's beautifully intuitive that way, like all of you are really. And she just starts telling me, okay, about some things. And she says, and she gives me this opening, okay? And you have to remember, I've known Sarah since she was 12 years old. And I've always been Sarah's doctor. I've been Sarah's doctor, I've been her big brother, I've been her mentor. And this was the beautiful moment, okay, that she was allowed to be mine. That she was allowed to be there for me. That she was, and she stepped into it. And I go, I need to talk to you about something. And I start telling her about what happened, okay? And she just looks at me and she just tells me like 3 or 4 sentences of complete truth. Which is basically in a really nice way. What the heck are you thinking? Look at your life. Look at what you're doing. How could you, what are you doing? The evidence is all over the place, okay? But I lost track of the math, okay? And trauma and shock and something unexpected happening, okay, makes you lose track of the math. It makes you feel like all the other good things that have happened, all the other good things that show complete order and synchronicity and perfection, it makes those all seem completely in doubt and held up in a space of inadequacy, okay? And the one moment when you're in trauma, that's the one that's true. That's the one that's the truth. And all the rest of them that show continual mathematic consistency, okay, are not. Now that's complete insanity, because that mathematical consistency is why we're alive. That's the nature of the universe, okay? So I need you to understand, I'm sharing this with you from my heart so you can really understand how it's happening to all of you. And when it does, you have to realize you're going against the math. Eventually, okay, and so this gets me to the, so anyway, let me finish that rest of the story, and then I'll get to the more wisdom behind it. So it's just happening left and right, all right? I mean, I'm getting emails, I'm getting just stuff out of the freaking blue. And not that I don't hear it every day from you guys, but this happened when I was on what? Vacation. So I'm not seeing all of you every day. I'm not getting reminded of it every day. It had to happen when I was away from my amazing, loving support system that all of you are for me.
But also during a time where you had the time to process it.
Totally, I was going to get to that. She's right on. I had the time to process it. So that was what I needed. I needed the time because I needed to not be involved with everybody else. I needed to focus on myself in that moment and really get to the bottom of this, okay? Because if I'm in a place, okay, where I have a problem with 1 out of every 75,000 people having a problem with me, am I in the right place to really lead this to its biggest space it can possibly be? No, I'm not. Because I'm not going to want it to get really big, because the bigger it gets, okay, let's say I was talking in front of a million people, okay? Well, there could be 1,000 people in that audience that really don't think I'm that great. You guys see the irrationality in this? We starve ourselves from our glory. Mathematically, the majority, because of a minority that may not understand us, or get us, or think we have a problem. And that was the energy of low self-esteem that I stepped in the chamber to ask to be healed of.
And you know, I have to say something, because years ago, you told me one thing that's always stuck with me, and that quit thinking about the numbers.
That's it.
And because that's what my occupation was,
Right.
career. And I still, that goes back to my mind when I go, okay, but the other thing that I do now is how long do I stay in that state of mind?
That's right.
And it's usually less than 5 minutes.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
But the numbers thing you brought up years ago.
Yeah. So it's very powerful, okay? You know, it's important that we use math, okay, to give us peace. Because math is undeniable. Numbers don't lie. They really don't. I mean, not when you're being honest about it. When you're trying to manipulate them, that's fine, but they don't really lie overall, you know? So when you can see it, and you can see the math in it, the math gave it a peace. So here's the coup de grace, all right? So I'm in the last 3 days of my vacation. I went to Chicago to see a show that I was supposed to go see with my brother, okay? And we've all been praying for my brother, and thank you all so much. He went home yesterday, and he's recovering, and he's doing great, okay? So that's awesome. So instead of going with him, I was calling some people that wanted to go, and I ended up going with another buddy who's been a friend of mine for a long time, okay? And he just happens to be an attorney, so yeah, so I don't even need to go any further than that. So, you know, so that's a conversation that him and I have, and he's like laughing at me. He thinks I'm just like, you know, like over the moon with like even having an issue with this. He's like, wow, that's too bad you're letting that bother you. That was his comment. Well, that's really too bad. Well, he goes, you know what, that's really unfortunate. He goes, what did you reply? And I go, you know what, I took the high road. I was really apologetic in every way I thought it was appropriate, and you know, but I didn't take responsibility for what I didn't think was my responsibility. He's like, wow. He's like, well, that's exactly what you're supposed to do. He says, so you took the high road. He goes, it's really too bad that you're letting it bother you. And I'm like, yeah, I know, that's just my issue right now. So before I go on that trip, I'm in Whole Foods and I'm shopping. I'm getting ready to check out. Okay. Remember, this is after God sent me so many people to say, you're crazy, stop being crazy. And this guy turns around and I go, I know you. He's like, yeah. He's like, my last name is Erbach. You remember me? And I'm like, yeah, I remember you. He's like, yeah. He's like, you were the best chiropractor I ever had. He goes, when you stopped adjusting all the time, I just stopped seeing you. He goes, but no one's ever adjusted me like you. No one's ever made me feel as good as you. You're the best I ever had. And I'm like, okay. It gets better. So I'm like, you know what, you got to get back in and see me. This is divine. You know, I'll be happy to help you out. You know what I mean? You're a great guy. I really enjoyed seeing you. And he goes, yeah. So here we are, Whole Foods. People are lining up behind us. I give him a big hug. All right. I give him a hug. He gives me a hug. And he steps away from me and he goes, oh my back. He goes, oh my God. I go, what? He goes, my back already feels completely better. I'm like, oh, that's really nice of you to say. He goes, no, really. He goes, my back already feels completely better. He goes, I can't believe that. And he gives me, you know, he goes ahead and checks out things. So the point is that if you allow yourself to see the truth, okay, it'll show itself to you. You know, God will outnumber in experience everything you're thinking that isn't true, okay? And if it is true, okay, if something that someone's saying about you is true, you'll recognize that experience throughout your life. So for example, if I had received, you know, 20 letters in the last 5 years, okay, and then I received this one that was a little more scathing, all right, I should be looking at that letter going, you know what, I really got to get my shit together. I really got to change something I'm doing. I'm really causing some problems in people's lives, and I really need to evaluate something, okay? Not that 20 is a lot, but it would be a lot for me, okay? The point is, when you get 1 in 20 years, you got to keep your perspective.
But I also think there's that reflection thing. So like people reflect back to you how you feel. And so I think it ties in with what we were talking about last time.
Yeah,
that
exactly.
It's, you know, people are brought into your life to show you different things or teach you different things. Like I had a boss once who made me feel like I couldn't, you know, I didn't have enough skills to work at Walmart. But I knew he was reflecting back to me how I felt about myself. And if I got a different job, I could certainly do that, but I would create the same situation until I learned the lesson.
That's right.
And I think so often we perceive difficult or challenging people in our life as, isn't that person horrible? But it's like, for me, isn't that person a blessing? Because they're able to teach me about myself.
Well, and that's true, okay? And that's true. At the same time, okay, it's important that you keep your perspective about what it's really about.
They learn that lesson that this is meant to teach me this little thing, or to teach
Yeah.
me that I've moved
Yeah.
beyond it,
And-
as
or for
opposed
me-
to taking it in.
Taking it in. How much of, in other words, for this, it was for me, how much of a change do I really need to make? All right?
Right.
How much of a change do I really need to make in myself? All right? And you know what I came to? The funny part of this whole thing I came to was, I'm great. I'm a great person. I'm a wonderful person. I'm really living a very giving, loving life. And you know what? That's enough. And if a few people have a problem with it, that's okay. You know, it was about a false, low self-esteem that I was carrying in myself. That I really thanked her and blessed her for flushing out of me, because it was a lie. I mean, for me to look at myself and not think I'm a good person would be a complete lie. I think most people would agree with that. Why would I look at myself and think I'm not a good person on any level? You know.
But what if you don't have the numbers to fall back on?
You do have the numbers to fall back on.
So where are they? Oh.
You do have the numbers to fall back on. Okay. You do have the numbers to fall back on. But the problem is, here's what you're going to do with that is, you're going to remember the numbers. Okay. You're going to remember the numbers that didn't go in your favor by habit. When you're in that space, you're going to remember the numbers that didn't go in your favor. And you're going to forget all the people that loved you, all the people that really care about you. You're going to forget those numbers, okay? And you're going to default into remembering all the ones that didn't. And
In
it's
negative ways, so
yeah,
much more than the positive.
exactly. And it's going to seem so much more. But if you just look at the math and go, wait a minute, how many people have I interacted with? Okay, I use patient visits, but we can use how many people have I interacted with? And how many people have I interacted with that really I had a problem with or had a problem with me? Okay, and if you are honest about that, the numbers will tell you there really isn't that many people you have a problem with. You know, if you're genuinely in your heart doing the best you can to be a good person.
The perspective. There's another way to look at the numbers. I had a friend text me today. She was going out of town, already worried about what was going on, or something had already happened, but she didn't tell me. And in texting, you can't give her the story.
Right.
And so I thought a minute, and I remembered from class, and I sent back to her, think about whatever happened or is going to happen. Is it going to matter a week from now, a month from now, a year from now? And
We
that
talked
was one
about
of
that, yeah.
the things we talked about here. That's again how numbers and time can help you put things in perspective.
Yeah, I mean, just remember, guys, in the end, you know, life is just a catalyst to resolve things within life. Okay, and the only reason I share the whole story is there's a lot of wisdom in it. Another thing that I pulled from it was, there's no going back. Don't regurge. Don't regurge in your energy. Just no going back. Whatever you may have done, okay, that wasn't what you're the most proud of, or whatever you may have done that you do differently now, there's no going back. You have to love every aspect of your experience. You have to love everything you've ever been, okay, everything you are, and everything you're going to become. Because especially when it comes to your past, there's no going back. And I want to share with you a story, okay, that goes along with this. Okay, and some of you have heard this, and when I say this, some people that might hear this at some point might think it's a little weird, but I think it's a really valuable story, so I'm going to always go out there and share it. So I was in a meditation, and I was having a conversation with Jesus, and Jesus said to me, you're being called out into the world to do some things. And I immediately became very thankful and grateful and said, I can't thank you enough for all you've done, what you've done to what you've taught, what you've brought, everything you've done in the world already, that, I really feel like all of us have an incredible path to walk because of what you've done. And I want to thank you so much. And I remember this incredible jovial laugh from this spiritual Jesus I was talking to. And he goes, you know what? He goes, as hard as you think I had it, he goes, you all have it harder than me. And I was really kind of perplexed by that. And I went, what do you mean? I'm going into, the crucifixion and how he died and all that good stuff of what he went through. He said, no, he goes, all I ever was what I was. All I ever was what I was. But with what you're teaching people, okay, they're going to know you before you were what you are. You're going to have a history You're going to have somebody who you were before you are what you're saying you are now. I didn't have a history in that lifetime. I was what I was the whole way through. So it's an easier transition, right? But for all of us, we have a history. We have these memories in the world that people have of us where we weren't so nice, or we weren't this, or we weren't that. So as we claim to be it because we're practicing, we have to let go of what we were, otherwise we'll be crucified by it. Well, how can you say you're this when you did that? Well, how can you say you're this if you did that? We can constantly be held back by what we once did. Well, how can you say you're this person when you once did that when you were... That's our challenge, to be clear about letting go of our past and saying, you know what? What I was is what I was. What I am is what I am. I'm only responsible really for being what I am right now. What I was is what I was, and I can't, and it was the best I could do at the time. And not to be guilty or shameful over your past, please. You don't have to be apologetic over your past. You can make apologies for what you feel is appropriate, but don't be apologetic over who you were. Because you wouldn't be who you are if you weren't who you were. And that's easy to say, it's nice words, but it's really important to know that it's the truth. God bless you. It's really important to know it's the truth. That I wouldn't be in front of you teaching this class if I wasn't that person that on some level made her unhappy. You don't get to be the one without the other. It is a process. It is a continuum. And we have to embrace complete acceptance of who we were and not be chained by it. And not let it give us low self-esteem. And not let it shift the numbers. And that's when you know you're freaking free. That's when you're free. When who you were doesn't define who you are. When only the God that you come from defines who you are. And only God's opinion of you, which is, I love you, I know you're doing the best you can, accept yourself as you are. That's the only opinion that really matters. Because that's by far got control of most of the numbers, right? Mm-hmm. So realize that, and realize that when you're approached in some way, and you feel that sense of anger,